Breeding Neocaridina shrimp isn't just rewarding, it's also a fun way to grow your colony or even make a little extra money. Today, we're looking at breeding snowball shrimp. From setting up the tank and maintaining water parameters to understanding the stages of pregnancy and even selling them for profit. Let's dive right in. The first thing to know is that snowball shrimp belong to the Neocaridina Palmata species, which is closely related to Neocaridina Davidi. Neocaridina Palmata is native to China and Vietnam, while Neocaridina Davidi is found throughout East Asia. Snowball shrimp, also known as white pearl shrimp, are one of the color morphs of Neocaridina palmata, along with blue pearl shrimp. Meanwhile, Neocaridina Davidi is known for its wide variety of color morphs such as red cherry shrimp, blue dream shrimp, and orange pumpkin shrimp to name a few. Snowball shrimp are characterized by their translucent, milky white coloration. Some individuals may exhibit a slight blue tint, but their primary color is a pure white that contrasts beautifully against dark substrates and lush plant life. The name snowball comes from the appearance of their eggs, which are also pure white and resemble miniature snowballs. I've been keeping these shrimp for a while now, and it's always an incredible sight to see the eggs a female is carrying. With more colorful variants like red cherry shrimp and blue dream shrimp, spotting the eggs can sometimes be tricky depending on how opaque the shrimp are. But with snowball shrimp, it's as clear as day. Snowball shrimp typically grow to about 1 to 2 inches in length when fully mature. Males are smaller, usually reaching around 1 inch, while females are larger, ranging from 1.5 to 2 inches. Females also have a more rounded, robust body shape, which becomes especially noticeable when they're carrying eggs. Like all Neocaridina shrimp, snowball shrimp have a lifespan of approximately 1 to 2 years. For breeding snowball shrimp, tank size is crucial whether you're keeping them for personal enjoyment or breeding for profit. If you're breeding for personal use, a 5 or 10 gallon tank is sufficient, though you can go larger depending on your budget. If you're breeding for profit, multiple tanks are necessary. Start with a 10 gallon tank for your breeding colony, then set up 1 or 2 grow-out tanks, which can be 10 to 20 gallons each, to house juveniles until they reach a sellable size. Grow-out tanks help separate juveniles from breeding adults, preventing overbreeding and ensuring steady growth. Additionally, you may choose to have a sales or display tank, which should be 20 gallons or more, to showcase and sort mature shrimp from the grow-out tanks for potential buyers. This setup helps you manage different generations, maintain genetic diversity, and ensure a steady supply of shrimp for sale. While you can start with a 10-gallon tank, I recommend upgrading to at least a 20 to 40-gallon tank for better stability and long-term success. Larger tanks provide more room for colony growth and help maintain stable water parameters, which are essential for consistent breeding and profitability. As your operation expands, you may need to increase the number and size of tanks to meet growing demand. When it comes to setting up your tank, it again depends on whether you're keeping these shrimp for personal enjoyment or breeding them for profit. If you're breeding for profit, a simple setup is best. A dark substrate will help the shrimp stand out, enhancing their appearance while also making them feel more secure, which reduces stress and encourages natural behaviors like foraging and breeding. Substrate also increases the surface area for biofilm to grow, a key food source for shrimp, while also supporting beneficial bacteria that help break down waste. For plants, Java moss, Christmas moss, or similar options are excellent choices. They provide shelter, a safe place for molting and breeding, and additional surface area for biofilm and beneficial bacteria. You may also want to use a few river stones or rocks like lava rocks to hold the moss in place, which will further increase available surface area for beneficial bacteria. Keeping the setup simple allows you to easily monitor your shrimp, check on their health, clean the tank when needed, and quickly net them out to transfer to a grow-out tank or for sale. Wood or overly complex scapes can make it difficult to catch shrimp, as nets can get caught and shrimp can easily hide. For filtration, a sponge filter is ideal because it provides gentle water movement without creating strong currents. It's also shrimp friendly, as baby shrimp won't get sucked into an intake like they would with other types of filters. Sponge filters offer a large surface area for beneficial bacteria and biofilm to grow, while also increasing oxygen levels when paired with an air pump. Plus, they're easy to clean, long-lasting, and budget-friendly. When it comes to lighting, shrimp don't need intense lighting as it can cause stress and excessive algae growth. Soft lighting encourages biofilm and natural algae growth, giving shrimp a consistent food source. A 6 to 8 hour photo period is usually enough. LED lights are the best option since they last long, generate little heat, and are energy efficient. The focus should be on maintaining stable water conditions while using lighting to support, not overpower the tank. If you're setting up a tank for personal enjoyment, you're free to design it however you like. The possibilities are endless depending on your budget and how much you want to invest. I fall into this category because I don't currently breed my shrimp for profit. My tanks are designed more for aesthetics. Similar to the breeding for profit setup, a dark substrate will help your shrimp stand out, but you can also mix in lighter areas if you want to create a specific look like a path. There are plenty of great options for rocks, stones, and wood. Some of my personal favorites are dragonstone, Sirius stone, lava rock, natural driftwood, and manzanita wood. For plants, you can mix small foreground plants, epiphytes, mosses, and crypts in the midground, fast-growing stem plants in the background, and floating plants at the surface. Some of my favorites include Limnophila sessiliflora, Anubias, Marimo mossballs, dwarf water lettuce, and redroot floaters. When it comes to filtration, you have multiple options, including hang-on-back filters, canister filters, air stones, and sponge filters. I prefer hang-on-the-back filters and canister filters when possible, since they don't take away from the aquascape and are often quieter. I personally don't like the bubbling sound from air stones, and when you have multiple tanks, it can get quite noisy. If you use a filter with an intake tube, be sure to cover it with a pre-filter sponge to prevent baby shrimp from getting sucked in and harmed by the impeller. Finally, for lighting, if your goal is to grow lush, healthy plants, you'll want something decent. Shrimp won't be too affected by stronger lighting in the setup since you'll have plenty of places to hide thanks to the way the tank is designed. Once your tank is set up, the next step is filling it. At this point, you can add a heater if you choose to, depending on the temperature you wish to maintain for your shrimp. For optimal breeding, a temperature range of 70 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit or 21 to 24 degrees Celsius is ideal. If the water is too cold, it can slow down their metabolism and reproduction, sometimes preventing breeding altogether. If the water is too warm, it can speed up their breeding cycle, but it also increases their metabolism, leading to a shorter lifespan. Other ideal water parameters for Neocaridina shrimp include a pH of 6.5 to 8.0, GH of 4 to 14, KH of 0 to 10, and a TDS of 180 to 400 parts per million. Ammonia and nitrite levels should always be at 0, while nitrates should remain below 20 ppm. While it's not necessary to match these numbers exactly, it's important to keep them in mind to ensure your shrimp thrive. More than anything, Neocaridina shrimp prefers stability. No matter what parameters you maintain, avoid drastic fluctuations, as sudden swings can easily stress or even kill your shrimp. I recommend getting a water test kit or test strips because it's the only way to accurately determine your water parameters. For my snowball shrimp, I keep them in a tank that's at 78 degrees Fahrenheit or 25.5 degrees Celsius, though this is partly due to having a betta in the tank, otherwise I'd keep it at 75 degrees Fahrenheit. My pH is also 7.5, KH is 4, and GH is 12. To maintain ammonia and nitrite levels at 0 ppm, you'll need to let your tank cycle for about 3 to 4 weeks after filling it up. During this time, your tank will go through the nitrogen cycle where beneficial bacteria will grow and multiply. These bacteria help convert ammonia, which is toxic to shrimp, into nitrite, which is less toxic but still harmful, and finally into nitrate, which is far less toxic. Nitrate can be absorbed by plants or removed through regular water changes. If you want to speed up the process, you can ghost feed the tank weekly by adding a pinch of powdered food and allowing it to break down. The ammonia released during this process will help speed up the nitrogen cycle. Alternatively, you can squeeze a sponge from an established tank into your new tank. The beneficial bacteria released will start to colonize your tank and accelerate the cycling process. With these methods, your tank can cycle in about 2 to 3 weeks. During the 2 to 4 week cycling period, biofilm will also form. Biofilm is a natural food source that shrimp love to graze on. It's important to ensure there's plenty of it in your tank because shrimp never stop eating. If you want to learn more about growing biofilm in your tank, check out the video in the top right corner. Remember, never add shrimp shortly after setting up a tank. This is one of the biggest mistakes most of us tend to make because doing so can lead to death from ammonia spikes while the tank is still cycling, or the shrimp could starve due to a lack of biofilm. If you choose to feed them during this time, the decomposing food can also cause ammonia spikes. I know we all get excited to add shrimp shortly after setting up a new tank, but patience is key, otherwise, you risk losing them all. With your tank now cycled, it's finally time to select the shrimp you'll be adding to it. The good thing about snowball shrimp is that when it comes to the selection process, you don't have to worry about grading like you would with red cherry shrimp. You simply need to choose the best looking ones because with snowball shrimp, they either look good or they don't. Look for shrimp with the brightest, most vibrant white coloration. Avoid dull looking shrimp as this may indicate suboptimal health or genetics. Aim for mature shrimp, typically around 4 to 5 months old, as they are ready for breeding. You can easily spot mature females because they will develop a white patch or saddle behind their head, indicating the presence of unfertilized eggs. Aim for a 1:3 ratio of males to females, with 1 male for every 3 females. Additionally, ensure the shrimp you select all appear healthy and free from visible signs of disease or parasites. If you're breeding for profit, get as many shrimp as your budget allows. Each female can carry approximately 20 to 30 eggs, and some can even carry up to 50. The more shrimp you start with, the more babies you'll have to grow out and eventually sell. If you're breeding for personal use, you can start with 5 or 10 shrimp. While a 1:3 male to female ratio isn't absolutely necessary, I still recommend it for better breeding success. Part of the selection process is being able to sex shrimp. Accurately identifying male and female shrimp is a crucial skill for successful breeding and managing your shrimp population. So, how do you tell them apart? First is size. Females are typically larger than males, growing up to 1.5 inches, while males stay around 1 inch in length. Second is body shape. Females have a rounder belly since they need space to carry eggs, whereas males have a straighter belly. Third is abdomen segments. In females, the second segment overlaps the first and third segments, while in males, all the segments are about the same size and don't overlap each other. Fourth is antennae length. Males have longer antennules, those upward pointing antennae, which are at least 3/4 the length of the carapace. Females, on the other hand, have shorter antennules. Fifth is the saddle. Females that are ready to breed will have a white patch or saddle just behind their head. This is where unfertilized eggs are stored until they're ready for fertilization. Lastly, sixth is the presence of eggs. If you see tiny white eggs that look like snowballs under the abdomen, it's definitely a female. The fifth and sixth methods are the easiest ways to sex shrimp because only females can carry eggs. By mastering these identification techniques, you'll be able to select the best breeding stock, maintain an ideal 1:3 male to female ratio, accurately fulfill customer requests for specific sexes, and manage your shrimp population across different tanks. It's important to remember that sexing juvenile shrimp can be challenging, so it's often easier once they reach maturity. With practice, you'll become more proficient at sexing shrimp. The most exciting part of setting up a tank, whether for breeding for profit or personal enjoyment, is adding the shrimp you've selected and watching them settle into their new home. This is a crucial step because if done incorrectly, you risk stressing them out or even losing a few. Before adding any shrimp to my tank, I prefer to drip acclimate them for at least 3 hours. I've found this method significantly reduces stress and losses compared to others I've tried. If you face similar issues or are new to shrimp keeping, I highly recommend giving this method a try. I've got a full video on my drip acclimation process, which you can check out in the top right corner. If you've been keeping shrimp for a while and prefer your own method, like the common 20-minute bag floating method used for fish, feel free to stick with what works for you. I'm simply providing an alternative to help minimize losses, as losing shrimp right after adding them to a tank can be both discouraging and costly. Once your shrimp are safely in the tank, they may go into hiding. This is completely natural, as they need time to adjust to their new environment. If you'd like to learn more about why shrimp may hide, check out the video in the top right corner. The important thing here is to give them time. Some shrimp may take a few weeks or even a month or more before they start breeding. Again, patience is key. You can't rush the breeding process. At this stage, all you can do is wait and let nature take its course. Speaking of stages, a shrimp's pregnancy cycle consists of 4 main stages. The first stage is the formation of the saddle. This is when the female shrimp develops eggs in her ovaries, which are visible as a white patch behind her head. The reason it's called a saddle is because of its shape, similar to how a saddle sits on a horse. As the saddle grows towards a downward curve of her tail, the female becomes ready for mating. This process is closely tied to her molting cycle, as she must molt first before attracting mates to fertilize her eggs. The second stage is the mating and egg transfer stage. Once the female has molted, she will release pheromones signaling her readiness to mate. During this time, male shrimp will become highly active, darting around the tank in search of her and competing to mate. This is why the 1:3 male to female ratio is so important, because if there are more males than females, they can stress the female during the stage. After a successful mating, which usually only takes a few seconds, the female will go into hiding to allow her new shell to harden. Within 1 to 3 days, she will begin moving the eggs to her swimmerets under her abdomen. The third stage is the egg carrying stage or buried stage. The reason it's called the buried stage is because the eggs look like little berries, but in this case, snowballs. At this point, the female carries the fertilized eggs under her abdomen, where she will constantly fan and clean them to provide oxygen and prevent fungal growth. This stage usually lasts about 2.5 to 3 weeks, depending on water conditions and temperature. As hatching approaches, the eggs become less opaque and tiny eyes may become visible. This is by far the most incredible stage because, unlike other shrimp, these shrimp carry white eggs. Since the eggs are visible, you can watch as the eyes of the shrimplets start to form, which makes the stage truly spectacular. The fourth and final stage is the hatching stage. After about 30 days of incubation, the eggs are ready to hatch. The female will release the eggs, which quickly hatch into miniature versions of adult shrimp. Newly hatched shrimplets may immediately begin to explore their environment, with some staying close to the spot where they were born, giving the impression that they aren't moving much. The breeding cycle then begins again, with females capable of becoming buried shortly after releasing their first clutch. Each stage is crucial for successful reproduction, and understanding this cycle will help you provide the best care for your breeding colonies. Shrimp are natural scavengers, feeding on biofilm, algae, detritus, decaying plant matter, and other organic material. While they can survive on what they find in the tank, proper nutrition is key to keeping them healthy and thriving at every stage of life. Supplementing their diet with the right food supports growth, reproductive success, and overall well-being. I feed my shrimp once every 2 days, but depending on the size of your colony, you may need to adjust. Some people feed once a week, a few days apart, or even daily. You'll need to judge accordingly based on how fast the food is consumed within a day. When it comes to food, I prefer offering a diverse diet. Some of the foods I use include Bacteria, Shrimp Baby, Shrimp Fit, Mineral Junkie, algae wafers, blanched vegetables, and even blanched duckweed. If you'd like to learn more about these specific foods, check out the video on the top right corner. A large portion of my shrimp's diet consists of foods that have been ground into a powder form. Recently, I've been using a premium blend created by Mark Shelley Aquatics, a Neocaridina Shrimp breeder and fellow content creator. His unique blend includes over 13 premium ingredients, all made and used exclusively by him. Why not try a 2-ounce bag for yourself? Use promo code MSA15 and get 15% off this incredible food. A pinch is all you need since this powdered food goes a long way. If you have baby fish in your tank, this food will benefit them too. I'll leave a link in the description below to where you can purchase this food. Get it while you can as quantities are limited. In addition to these foods, I also use frozen options like frozen baby brine shrimp and frozen brine shrimp. These are high in protein, which is especially beneficial for female shrimp as it supports their reproductive health and helps them produce eggs. Protein is also essential for growth, molting, and energy production, key factors for females, particularly during the buried stage. When female shrimp are well fed with a protein-rich diet, they're more likely to successfully carry and hatch a large number of healthy eggs, leading to better breeding outcomes. As you begin the breeding process, your tanks will have shrimp at all stages of their life cycle: newborns, juveniles, and adults. While this is exciting, it also means that you'll need to maintain your tanks carefully to avoid stressing or accidentally harming any shrimp. If your tanks haven't been touched for a while, you might notice algae growing on the walls. This is not a bad thing, as your shrimp, especially the babies, will feed on it. To maintain a clear view of what's happening inside your tanks, I suggest cleaning just the front glass panel. Leave the other sides untouched so the shrimp can continue to benefit from the algae. You can use an algae scraper or sponge to remove the algae, depending on how stubborn it is. When it comes to water changes, if you're breeding for profit, start by changing about 10 to 20% of the water on a weekly basis. Mark Shelley Aquatics, a Neocaridina Shrimp breeder, changes around 20 to 30% weekly, and some of his tanks receive up to 50% water changes. The frequency and amount really depend on factors like tank conditions, colony size, and how much you're feeding your shrimp. For tanks meant more for personal enjoyment, a 10 to 20% water change should be more than sufficient. Over time, as your tank becomes more established, you can gradually extend the intervals between water changes. Personally, I change the water in my tank every 2 weeks. If you're not keen on regular water changes, simply topping off the water as it evaporates is also an option. Ultimately, the choice is yours, so do what works best for your setup. When siphoning the water, I highly recommend covering the intake of your siphon with a sponge to prevent accidentally sucking up any baby shrimp. You don't want to harm or lose any shrimp during this process. In regards to filtration, if you have a sponge filter, you can clean the sponge in the aquarium water you just siphoned out. If you have a dual sponge filter, clean only one of the filters to preserve beneficial bacteria. Rinsing both sponges at once can disrupt biological filtration, potentially causing ammonia or nitrate spikes. Can you rinse your sponges under tap water? Yes, you can, but there are some things to consider. If your tap water has low levels of chlorine or chloramine, a quick rinse with cold tap water will likely cause minimal disruption to beneficial bacteria. However, if your tap water is heavily treated with chlorine or chloramine, it's best to use aquarium water instead. I've used both methods across my tanks without noticing any issues, but if you're unsure, I recommend rinsing the sponges in aquarium water for safety. If you're using a hang-on back filter, always turn it off before removing the pre-filter sponge that covers the intake tube. If you don't, you risk sucking up baby shrimp into the impeller, which is something you want to avoid at all costs. Additionally, shrimp thrive and breed best in a stress-free environment. It's important to avoid rearranging decorations or disturbing the tank too frequently, as stability is key to keeping your shrimp healthy and stress-free. Whether you're breeding shrimp for personal enjoyment or profit, several challenges can arise that may impact both reproduction rates and the survival of baby shrimp. The first challenge is unstable water parameters. Shrimp are highly sensitive to fluctuations in pH, KH, GH, ammonia, nitrites, and nitrates. Even minor instability can prevent breeding or harm baby shrimp. Maintaining stable water parameters is essential to keeping your shrimp healthy and happy. Opting for a larger tank size makes it easier to stabilize the water parameters compared to a smaller tank. Next, we have incompatible tank mates. If you're breeding shrimp for profit and wish to add tank mates, choose fish like bristlenose plecos and autosynclus catfish, as they don't prey on baby shrimp unlike many other fish. The last thing you want is to hinder the growth and size of your colony. Alternatively, you could keep a shrimp-only tank for more control over your breeding environment. The third challenge is copper contamination. Never treat sick fish with copper medications in the same tank as your shrimp, as copper is fatal to them. Always treat fish in a separate medical tank and only return them to the main tank once fully recovered. Fourth is overcrowding and poor gender ratios. Too many males can overwhelm females during mating, while too few males can reduce fertilization rates. As I mentioned earlier, aim for a 1:3 ratio with 1 male for every 3 females for optimal breeding. Fifth is underfeeding and overfeeding. Shrimp require a varied, nutrient-rich diet for successful breeding and egg production. Overfeeding, on the other hand, can degrade water quality and lead to health issues. Provide a balanced diet with algae wafers, shrimp pellets, calcium supplements, and other foods while avoiding overfeeding. The sixth challenge is diseases and pests. Selecting shrimp that may already be suffering from diseases will impact breeding and the overall health of your colony. Stress is another factor that makes shrimp more susceptible to illness. Additionally, pests like planaria and hydra can harm shrimp or their offspring. Regularly monitor your tanks and the health of your shrimp and address any issues as they arise. Finally, interbreeding problems can arise. Interbreeding occurs when closely related shrimp, like siblings or offspring from the same parents, continue to breed over multiple generations. This can lead to a limited gene pool and result in weaker offspring, color degradation, and potential health issues. To prevent interbreeding, introduce new bloodlines every few generations to refresh the genetics and maintain strong, vibrant offspring. Cull lower quality shrimp by placing them in a separate tank and breed only the best looking ones to preserve desirable traits. Fortunately, snowball shrimp tend to breed true for the most part, and it's rare to see lower quality shrimp appear, but they should be separated if they do. You can also establish multiple breeding colonies with different genetic lines and occasionally swap males between them to reduce the risk of excessive interbreeding. Keeping track of shrimp lineage is another good way to avoid breeding siblings too frequently. While some level of interbreeding occurs naturally in the shrimp hobby, especially with Neocaridina species, it's important to refresh the gene pool every few generations. This helps maintain strong, high-quality shrimp, which is especially important when breeding for profit. Finally, this last section is primarily for those of you wanting to breed snowball shrimp for profit, but there are also some helpful tips that the rest of you can take away. The most important thing is to focus on growing your colony first. You need a constant stream of newborns that will grow and eventually be sold. It can take a minimum of 6 months before you start selling, but it's crucial to have a strong colony size or you'll run out of stock before you even begin. Aim to have a few hundred shrimp before you start selling, and try not to sell once you reach about 100, as replenishing your colony can take much longer. Remember, the shrimp you selected initially will breed continuously, providing a solid high-quality batch of newborns. As these baby shrimp grow in their tanks, they too will start breeding, further increasing the size of your colony. Pricing can be tricky. In Canada, snowballs typically range from $5 to $8 per shrimp, which is approximately $3.50 to $5.50 in US currency. Do your research based on where you live and how you plan to sell your shrimp, ensuring your pricing reflects local market rates. Don't forget to factor in any additional costs such as packaging, food, water conditioners, and so on. Some stores around me offer a buy 5 get 1 free deal, and that's something you might want to consider incorporating into your own pricing strategy. Spring through fall are great months for selling shrimp since the temperatures make shipping easier. Winter can be more challenging because you may need heat packs, or if it's too cold, you might not be able to ship at all. If you choose not to ship during winter, use that time to further grow your colony, reset your tanks if necessary, or connect with local fish stores to sell shrimp at a wholesale rate. When selling to stores, aim for 1/3 of the price you sell to customers. If you have customers picking up shrimp directly from you, you don't need to worry much about shipping. For those of you breeding shrimp for personal enjoyment, you can sell your excess shrimp using the same approach or even trade them in at local fish stores for credit. Breeding Snowball Shrimp or any other Neocaridina shrimp for profit, whether full-time or as a side hustle, can be a rewarding experience. Will there be challenges along the way? Definitely, but I'm confident you'll overcome them. It's all part of the learning process. If you set everything up properly from the start, select the best quality shrimp, care for them to the best of your ability, and most importantly, be patient while providing them with a stable environment, you will be rewarded with a large, thriving colony. For those of you planning to breed Snowball Shrimp or any other Neocaridina shrimp for profit, I wish you all the best. I'd also love to hear how your journey goes. And if you're already selling Neocaridina shrimp and have advice or tips to share, please leave a comment below. If you want to learn more about Neocaridina shrimp, specifically red cherry shrimp, check out this video next. And don't forget to subscribe for more shrimp keeping tips, guides, and advice. I'm Andy, thanks for watching, and I hope I made shrimp keeping a little easier for you. I'll catch you in the next one.